forced environmental poverty. Have you ever wondered why the number of natural disasters keeps increasing and why they've been getting worse over the past several decades? Well, I'm Cooper Affleck, and I'll be telling you why, so you can better understand why we can't just wait for the world to fix itself. As many people think, global warming is causing longer and more severe droughts, hurricanes, and tornadoes, and more. But that's just a small portion of what climate change really is doing to the world and has been causing extremes of all forms and so much more as it has been drastically been affecting the world and its people and animals for years now. First of all, storms and water involving disasters. They are the simplest. Due to hotter temperatures, due to increased water evaporation, too much water is being evaporated from lakes, rivers, and the ground, taking the vital and necessary water from the plants and animals that need it. Look no further than the Grand Canyon down in Arizona, as it was recently hit by a dry heat due to the drought, causing it to become so hot that the average water depth in the Grand Canyon was several feet lower than it was just a year ago. And as droughts continue to become more common, this will just get worse, as next summer there's already supposed to be an identical heat wave, except it will be even hotter, since Arizona's climate and ecosystem won't have had time to recover from the forest fires and other events caused by many extreme droughts, and the heat being so bad in some parts of it, it even killed the drought and heat resistant cacti. This puts not just the well-being of plants and faunas into jeopardy, but to the people forced to spend more, even if they don't have enough money to spare just to survive. This is hurting people who need to shell out money for air conditioning and ways to keep themselves properly hydrated that can't just walk to a nearby grocery store. This is forcing those who don't have enough saved to spend money just to survive. Just to survive. Let that sink in, as this is a common occurrence around the world and is only getting worse. Next is floods and hurricanes, which are becoming worse and worse, and as well as more common, as dams around the world are beginning to struggle, as droughts have left many dams lower than they've ever been, hurting many hydroelectric dams, and in colder areas of the world, the rising water levels have resulted in governments needing to build their dams up higher, as they are simply reaching their capacity. Picture what would happen if just one of these dams around the world were to break. Not at the country level, but for the singular person. These events damage or destroy entire towns and cities. What can the average person do when faced with a struggle like this? They would be forced into homelessness, poverty, the struggle just to find food and drinkable water, because of something that isn't even their fault, making that just that much more of an issue. That does the same for hurricanes, as the number of named and tropical storms has almost doubled since the 1980s, and it's only getting worse, further forcing local governments and their people into poverty because of these environmental factors. Third, and probably most important, is earthquakes. This is because as climate change becomes worse, earthquakes become more frequent and more dangerous in comparison to the early 20th century, when we didn't have nearly as many safety precautions against earthquakes. The numbers are still increasing in all categories, even though in the modern day we've developed technologies to predict earthquakes and building codes and requirements that make them safer. Things are still getting worse, no matter how safe we become. This shows the clear correlation between global warming and earthquakes' lethality and severity. As the rising temperature of the Earth, even though it has increased only by a few degrees over the centuries, that number has caused the tectonic plates to shift quite a bit more, often resulting in this change. This is important because the world is greatly suffering because of this, whether it be the economy, homelessness, poverty, famine, lack of medical supplies, and more. That is why we must pay attention and be safe as a nation and as a world.